I'll just get started with our interview really quick. We have a lot of people tuning in here. I don't know if you can see the chat, but a lot of them are tuning in from Chicago, Oak Park, Champaign. So it's definitely from the region that they're watching us.
Awesome.
So it's good to have you here.
Yes, I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so hi everyone. As you've heard already, my name is Andrew. I'll be moderating this event for today. And please allow me to introduce Dr. Garry Cooper. He's going to be sharing with us today Rheaply's story. Dr. Garry Cooper is the co-founder and CEO of Rheaply, a Chicago-based tech company that enables Fortune 500 companies, government agencies, and universities to better visualize, quantify, and utilize their physical resources. He also serves on the board of directors of P33 Chicago in 1871, the faculty of Northwestern University, and the investor team at Long Jump. Previously, Dr. Cooper facilitated supply chain and performance improvement for enterprise businesses at Ernst & Young. As a result of his work, Dr. Cooper has received recognition on the Forbes Next 1000, Chicago Magazine's The Next Power 30, and Crane's 40 Under 40 lists. Amazing. And as a scholar at Google for Entrepreneurs. Dr. Cooper has published in high-impact peer-review international journals and holds a U.S. patent. He holds a PhD from Northwestern University, a certificate in management from the Kellogg School of Management, and a BS in AMP from Indiana University. That is a lot. And very happy to have you.
You read it well.
Welcome, Dr. Cooper.
Thank you. You read it well. It's nice to be here. And what an exciting thing to talk about, the thing I get to talk about all the time, circular economy. Now, Andre, are there any slides that you have that we should be advancing, or should I be using on my?
Yes. Okay. I have your slide deck, and I can control it for you.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. And so I'll kind of give a little bit of background of kind of what we're doing with Rheaply, and then I'll just let you know when we should advance the slide. So, hello world, or at least Chicago world. As Andre was saying, I'm Garry. I'm from Rheaply. We're trying to bring visibility to all the world's physical assets. So the way to think about Rheaply is to think about all the things you can do on Google search, right? When you're trying to search for information, imagine that kind of power to search for physical things, right? Whether they be PPE when you needed PPE because of COVID outbreak, or ventilators, or just stuff in a business. So that's what we try to do, is we try to help organize all the world's physical assets into one platform so that we can all purchase a little smarter and a little bit more sustainably. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of our story at Rheaply. Next slide. So as Andre said, I've been busy the last 10, 12 years of my career, so no need to rehash that. But I think one important thing to keep in mind is, I basically grew up in the Midwest, very humble beginnings, loved math and science, and that has opened up a whole world of a career for me. I never went into banking. I never went into sports, although I had dreams. So I've literally only been in science and math, and that somehow has got me into sustainability. Next slide. I also like the hand clap emoji. I think it's really cool. So let's frame this problem that Rheaply is kind of going after. So in the United States right now, according to the Federal Reserve, there are $630 billion of underutilized capacity of physical assets. So what does that mean? How do I break that down? Think of like a plant, and think of a warehouse, or think of buildings like that, and think of all the stuff that just sits around, all of the machinery that just sits around, whether that be manufacturing equipment, or whether if we're talking about in a research scenario, whether that be in the lab. All of that underutilized capacity, if it doesn't go to being used, will go to landfill. And in landfill, it will total something like 60 million new tons of waste to landfill. I should say something right now, our current landfills in the United States are somewhere near 95% at capacity. This problem, the $630 billion problem, the 60 million tons of new waste to landfill, happens each year, and only in the United States, is actually equal to the sum greater than the GDP of 44 of the 50 states. So the amount of stuff that we're not using is equal to the total economies of 44 of the 50 states in the United States. So one idea would be, let's use that stuff more, right? That's what we're up to at Rheaply. Next slide. And so how do we do that? So it's this global shift from linear economy to the circular economy. And let me just break that down so that hopefully we all walk away a little bit with understanding what this new concept of the circular economy is. So, and then I'll tell you how Rheaply helps that. So imagine step A here. A business purchases some tool. You then put a label on it to say you've purchased a tool, so you managed it in step B. And then someone who purchased it, you put your label on it. Now they're using it for the work that they have to do, hopefully. But what happens when they stop using it? Or what happens when that work is no longer, is completed? They store it. And then what happens with storage is once the cost of storage gets too high, or when storage facilities get too full, businesses typically dispose of the things that are in storage, right? That's D&E. In the circular economy, everything from my cell phone to a banana peel is somehow reused, or in some cases recycled. And so you create this bridge of C back to A. So you start purchasing things that were already above ground, already circulated. You don't have to harvest new things, raw materials from the ground and make new products. Now, the problem is, how do you connect the dots, right? Like if Andre no longer needs a table and he's working in one part of my business and I work in another part of the business in another building and I need a table. How do you connect those dots? Because I'm just going to go purchase a table and he might get rid of his table. So the way that we do that at Rheaply is through our kind of flagship technology called an AXM. And that stands for an asset exchange manager. And the take home here is that it just allows all the things that are being used to be available to be purchased by the same people. So it's like connecting left hand and right hand. So things don't go to storage and things thus don't go to landfill. Next slide. Next slide, Andre. Yep, perfect. Oh. So I always say, what's the business case? Or people always say, what's the business case for whatever you're talking about enterprise, whatever process improvement, and you get very much down to the financial numbers, and we'll kind of go through those in a second. But I actually always say the business case for adopting circular operations is, wait for it, Earth. Because turns out if we don't adopt a circular economy at scale in the next 30 years, we're in real trouble from a climate change perspective. Now, to how do we, though, get businesses to think about circular operations today, even without the Earth as the business case? So we talk about really kind of 4 kind of KPIs or key performance indicators. That is, one, every organization wants sharing, right? You don't want people to buy stuff in your company and then not share it with their colleagues when they're done with it. That just doesn't even make sense. So just like it makes it easier. One, but two, diverting. If you can find things that are available in the company, you actually divert them from going to landfill because now you're using them. That creates the 4th one, resource efficiency. So now I'm not buying things I don't need, and I'm not throwing things away that I don't need to do as well. In the very bottom of the slide, we kind of outline some of the data that we can share about some of the work that we've done. We're actually in Chicago, we helped University of Chicago, for instance, save over $400,000. And you can see here we have a 1.6 number, which is kind of total amongst our current customers last year that were able to share because of confidentiality reasons, but it's even bigger. See the number of users on our platform, you can see the amount of waste that we've been able to divert last year. And again, last year is an interesting year because of COVID, right? Because a lot of businesses actually weren't having their employees come on premise. So we're really excited about the work that we can do this year. Next slide. So here's kind of a quick snapshot of what this AXM, our kind of flagship technology, looks like. So it's essentially like an asset management system. So a system that just tracks what you own, how much is it worth. That's all asset management systems do. on the back end, but on the front end, it acts like an online marketplace or like an eBay. So employees can easily find and swap and share things that they no longer need with folks that might within their company or beyond it. There's a couple screenshots on the right here, and then we put some of the customers that we are lucky to work with, including folks here in Chicago, like University of Chicago and Rush University, but also folks like Yale and Google and the NIH. Next slide. So lastly, I just kind of want to highlight a couple of the use cases that our technology is used for, because you might be thinking like, well, all assets, everything in my company? Absolutely. We want everything that's in the company on our platform, but we typically start out in certain places. So one place that we typically start out is like lab reuse. So, because that's where, I came from, that's where I got my start, and that's where Rheaply kind of got its start, is kind of helping labs be more sustainable, be more efficient. So here's a couple of use cases on the left, kind of two cards, talking about the University of Chicago, universities in Chicago, but also a biopharma company here in Chicago, where we've been able to, in kind of some pilot scenarios, be able to save them a lot of money and divert a lot of waste. The farther one is one from a big Fortune 500 company where, again, in another pilot scenario, we were able to save them a lot of money in a very short period of time. Next slide. So it's working. So that's all I got to say. But I really want to encourage anyone who's thinking about sustainability, thinking about climate change, or thinking about this concept that we talked about today of circular economy, please visit Rheaply.com. We have a lot of free content. I think it's also kind of cool content. And some of it's not even ours. So please go and learn, and, ping me if you have any questions. My email is there. I don't think there's another slide, but next slide.
Okay, let me try it out. Okay, yeah, that's the end of it.
Yeah. So I'm happy to, if there's any questions or thoughts, I'm happy to, take them.
Well, we have a question here in the chat asking,
Oh,
Dr. Cooper, has your neuroscience background given you insights into human mindset and behavioral change needed to reduce/reuse/recycle, and why it's been so difficult?
Yes, that's a good question. I get that question a lot. So I would say, honestly, not directly, but indirectly so. So one thing, so I did study dopamine's action in the brain as a PhD student at Northwestern. And one of the things, is like the old Pavlovian, right? If you give a reward with an intended task, sometimes the animal pairs the reward with the completion of the task. So one of the things that we do in our platform is we gamify the activity for employees. So as employees do things that save money and divert waste for their business, we give them points. They see how many points they have versus their colleagues. And then at the end of each month, we give them a really cool prize. Like sometimes that prize is $300, $400, $500 Visa gift card or Apple AirPods, or it depends, organization to organization. But so we currently do some of that kind of behavioral shifting as a part of our tool. But outside of that, no, I think just the general thing of being a scientist has been really helpful. Thinking about hypothesis, thinking about data analysis, thinking about how you construct good experiments. Those have been kind of generally helpful, but from a neuroscience perspective, not so much, other than the reward thing that I talked about.
Okay, we have another question in the chat from Christopher saying, how do you deploy your software throughout large organizations? How do employees know to catalog an unused table or to search for something they need?
This is a fantastic question. These questions are amazing. So the way that we deploy our software across an organization is we start somewhere. So we typically start where the problem is the greatest. So, I'll give you an example. So we would identify some surplus warehouses that has lots of stuff that no one in the organization knows about. So we, Rheaply, and our client partner will basically post all those things to the platform, and then we will then launch it. And we typically, pre-COVID, would have launch parties. So we would come on premise, no matter if it's, Fortune 500 company or university or high school. And we have pizza, Rheaply t-shirts. It's all fun. We're talking about reuse, sustainability. It's so exciting. And then we already have these things on the platform. So people kind of feel like, oh, this is a place where I can get things on this tool. Some of the people from the company are here to explain how it works. And then that creates kind of forward momentum after that launch. After the launch, though, the gamification that I kind of talked about, incentivizing employees, is one of the things that helps us kind of keep that continued activity. I would also say that most organizations, if not all of them, are already thinking about what we're doing. They're already thinking about, how do I make my organization more circular? Because the business case for circular economy is the strongest business case in my mind of any sustainability initiative in any business. So we are really just the technology platform that allows that to happen. So we don't have to do too much hand wringing, but at the very beginning, we do try to help with some initial inventory. And then after that, the employees do the inventory. That's kind of the special sauce of Rheaply, is that we say it's impossible for a small team to inventory for a big company. You need the company to help a big company to help the big company. But great question. Fantastic.
Amazing. So remember, you can always put any question you have in the chat. But while we wait for people to put questions in the chat, I do have a question myself.
Yeah, please.
I looked at your website because I was very curious about the naming of Rheaply. And I saw something that said "research cheaply."
Yes.
So I think it's a really interesting story. If you could share that with the audience here, I think it would be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's thought of this. Like, when you go start a company, you got to name it something, right? And there's like many considerations to think about the name. One consideration is you want it to be memorable. I think another consideration is that you want it to be somewhat unique. And for us, we wanted to speak our value. I could have named the company Garry, just called it that. It'd been kind of easy. But we wanted to speak the value. And so what we liked about Rheaply was that it was action, right? It's a made up word. So if you Google it, you only come to our website, which is fantastic. But we like the idea of, to your point, Andre, research cheaply. And because research was our initial use case, we would ask, how are we making research more cheap or more efficient? By helping reapply things that had already been purchased. So if you look at the syllables of our name, you can see reapply. So basically, we like the idea that the name had both research cheaply, but also reapply, and we stuck with it ever since.
Wow, yeah, I did not see that reapply thing that you're saying. Now that
it's about 50-50 when people ask me like, hey, is this reapply or Rheaply? And I'm like, go with whichever you want to go with. It's all the same value prop.
It's amazing. Yeah, and I can tell you as a student researcher here at Illinois Tech, I think I've told you about my background here, but when putting research proposals, I've tried to find out that there's a lot of equipment around campus that I just don't even have access to, because like the professors might not be open to sharing it even. Like professor from the mechanical engineering department might have a laser that I need, and in my proposal, the laser is like $6,000, and he might just have it there laying around. So I think I was very excited to be hosting this event.
I'm sure he does have it there laying around.
This whole idea of circularity is, well, it's very exciting. Actually, the beginning of the week, the deputy mayor, Samir, I don't know if you've met him.
Oh, yes, I know him well.
He actually gave a big shout out to Rheaply. So we were very happy to see that, because we were like, hey, they're actually going to be speaking on Fridays. We're very happy that.
Yeah, Samir's become a good friend, and we partnered together, him and his team and Mayor Lightfoot's administration, to use our core technology to help move PPE, personal protective equipment, around Chicago when we needed to safely reopen. And it's the same problem that you described, Andre, with PPE as what you were describing with the laser and the grant, which is we actually have so much stuff. I talked about 630 billion at the very top. We have so much stuff just on this in this country, not to mention the whole world, that we're not using. And so what circular economy basically says is we have scarcity at the same time that we have surplus. People are hungry in the world, yet we throw lots of food away.
Right.
You need to use this laser, yet there's a laser, a building over that's not being used.
Right.
So circular economy says, hey, we can almost stop new manufacturing of things if we actually just use the material and the resources that are actually already above ground and in our hands. But there's a big problem, in my mind at least, and I think in most, which is we don't know where that stuff is.
Right.
We got to find that stuff. We got to get connected. But once that happens, just like Airbnb, just like Uber, I predict that we'll have a massive kind of like platform of sharing between organizations, and hopefully Rheaply is, if not the leader in that, one of the key players.
That would be amazing, yeah. And I have another couple questions. We're running out of time here. Just got 4 minutes left. Yeah. I do have to get to my closing remarks.
Sure.
So I do have two questions. One from Sarah. She said, companies can be intimidating to approach as a student. How were you able to approach and partner with these companies?
I think that it's a good question. So I think one of the most important things in business is networking. And not networking to sell business to or to get money from, but networking just to meet people. And it turns out if you keep doing that those people become very important in certain organizations. So really, we got our start just like people in my network and friends of mine. But also, I think being honest and being humble and transparent, just like, hey, we don't have all the answers. You're Google, or you're, name your company that's big, you're Exelon, but we have a good idea and we can help you, and see what happens. I was told, I'll leave you with this. I was told one thing by my mentor when I was at Ernst & Young, who said, people do business with people they know and people they like. That's the key to business. Be known and be liked.
Amazing. Thank you for that insight. We are almost to the closing here. So I do have to thank everyone here for attending our event. We would love for you to share your feedback of this event on your stories or other social media platforms. Please do so by tagging @Chicago Startup Week to let us know your thoughts. Before we end, I'd like to give out our next raffle prize from the audience. We have chosen Nay as our recipient for a $15 Amazon gift card. Congratulations. We will follow up with you for more details. So for the audience members here, I want to encourage you to head over to our next event, our fireside chat with Christy Ross and Brad Keywell. If you click on session here on the left, you can pick and choose which session you want to attend. Thank you everyone for being here. As always, it's been a pleasure hosting you. Dr. Cooper, thank you for being here. I had an awesome time. Really wish you the best of luck with your business, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Go listen to Christy. She's incredible.
All right. Thanks everybody. Thanks for being here. And we wrapped up in time. Amazing. Okay, Nay, I'm gonna need your contact information to give you your Amazon gift card. So if you could private message me here through Hopin, just go to people, click on my name, and send me your private message, maybe your email of sorts, so we can send you your gift card. And yeah, thanks everyone for coming. It's been a crazy week. Okay, you know what, Nate, I'm gonna message you. Hello. There, you should have gotten. Oh, there you are. There you are. All right. Thanks everyone for hopping in. If you have any questions for me, I'm gonna stay here for 5 more minutes, and if not, I'm just. Also, we're very excited to be hosting Christy Ross and Brad Keywell. They're two entrepreneurs from the city. Definitely go check that out. Click on sessions here on the right. You know how it goes. Got 3 people left. Okay. I'm just gonna be waiting here for 5 more minutes. If you guys want to talk to me, you can talk to me. If you want to leave the room, you can do so. Katya should definitely be in the Christy Ross, actually, fireside chat. I think she was hosting it. So yeah, Katya, go. Welcome, Miss Mary. It's love to have you here. Our event already ended. You can definitely go check out the Christy Ross and Brad Keywell fireside chat on the sessions tab to your left. So definitely 2 big name entrepreneurs we're very excited to be hosting. Two more people here. We had a dream, we go try. Spread it out. Something